9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
All right, welcome to another edition of the Rising Coaches Member Spotlight presented by HD Intelligence today. Today we're joined by Jovahn Masters. Jovahn, what's up? How are you? Oh, we can't hear you, Jovahn. There we go. Now we're good.
You good now?
Yep, loud
All right,
and clear.
cool. Perfect.
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on. So, Jovahn, give us the background, man. Give us the scoop. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and how you got into basketball.
Sure. It's kind of a unique story. I'm not like most of the coaches I've come across. I wasn't a manager at some big school. I wasn't a player anywhere. I actually grew up in a town of about 80,000 people and grew up playing sports. Basketball, baseball was my thing, but I was a better baseball player. So when it came time to choose schools, I decided on a D3 school to play baseball. When I got there, long story short, it didn't work out. I didn't make the final roster. And it was one of those things that kind of changed my life in the long run. In high school, I was always really good at sports. I could do all that, but I didn't understand everything that kind of went into college athletics. I was a pretty big guy, about 70 pounds heavier than I am now. And so when I got there, I kind of realized really quick, all right, well, all these guys are really good at baseball, but some of them know that it's more than just the skill level. So after not making the team, it kind of pushed me in other directions in terms of getting after it in terms of physical fitness, pursuing what I wanted to do education-wise. Because I never really thought about it. I always just thought I'd go play baseball and the rest would work itself out. Um, I started working at the YMCA in my hometown, and it was an experience that kind of changed my life. I realized how much I liked working with youth. And then from there, during my undergraduate time, I started coaching sports at a local high school. And I started out with baseball because that was my first love and my first passion. But I absolutely didn't like coaching baseball at all. It just wasn't for me. Too slow, too boring. I still love watching it, still love playing it. But I was like, no way. I can't see myself doing this. So I got into the basketball thing, gave that a try, and absolutely fell in love with it. It was just one of those things where every day I couldn't wait to go to practice. I couldn't wait to write my practice plans, do all that kind of stuff. And so that was during my senior year. And then last year, during my super senior year, I was doing a little bit of student teaching because I decided on education. I thought I was going to teach and I thought I was going to coach. And in La Crosse, Wisconsin, where I went to college, there's a small private school, Viterbo, and they had just recently got a new head coach. His name's Lionel Jones. And his funny story, it was kind of luck, but I grew up with his son. So I had known him growing up. I always knew he was a basketball coach, but at the time I didn't really know what that meant. I didn't know anything too much of it. And so when he got the Viterbo job, I kind of was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Didn't understand the magnitude of getting a college head coaching job. So that was during my senior year. Then during my super senior year, I just reached out to him and said, hey, I think I really like this whole coaching thing. I want to give it a try. Is there any way I can come be on your staff, volunteer, whatever it may be? He said, and he just said, let's meet. We met, and it kind of the rest is history. That was last year, and we figured out really quickly we really like working together. He's a great mentor to me, and so last year I volunteered as a coach, and it was a crazy time for me. I was doing my student teaching, so I'd be at a local high school for the whole school day, doing lesson plans, recording lessons, doing all that stuff, and then I'd rush over after school, go to practice at Viterbo. And one of the great things about Lionel was he's not someone that just is going to have me come just to sit and watch. Like he gave me a lot of responsibilities. And at the time I loved that, but it was also kind of a curse because I was crazy busy. But it kind of really prepared me. It really allowed me to see kind of what the whole college coaching thing was like. And then after the season, we kind of just had a discussion, and Viterbo was going through some changes. In the past, they'd only had part-time and volunteer coaches. And since he came, he kind of pushed to have a full-time coach. And that was a position that opened up this off season. He asked me if I wanted it. And it's funny, at the time, I was like, I mean, I guess I got to go talk to my family and stuff. I don't know for sure if I want that. And then I sat there, I thought about it. I was like, are you crazy? you're obsessed with coaching. That's the only thing you ever talk about. Why wouldn't you want that? So I called him back later that night. I said, of course, I'll take it. And that's kind of how I got to where I am now. I did the camp thing last summer, and that was a great experience, but pretty new to the whole coaching thing and the whole basketball thing, but just really love the process, really love the whole college environment and how invested student athletes and all the members of the community really are.
Yeah, it's great stuff, Jovahn. Okay. I got to ask, I ask everybody if you've watched these, what position in baseball? Give us a scouting report for you on the diamond.
I was a first baseman. I grew up all my life playing catcher, but my sophomore year of high school, I broke my leg in warm-ups of basketball, and that kind of ended the whole catching thing. My knee was a little bit messed up, so I moved to first base.
Were you a slugger?
Oh, yeah.
You could hit it a little bit.
Yeah, that was definitely my game.
So you said coaching baseball was like slow.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do in baseball practice? You play catch, you do some batting practice.
My favorite thing was I liked throwing BP, so I liked throwing batting practice to the kids, but just hitting fungo, hitting ground balls, hitting fly balls. I don't know, it just got kind of old for me pretty quick.
Jovahn, it sounds amazing to me. It sounds like the best thing ever.
I'm sure you can find a school that'll take you, a high school.
Yeah,
maybe baseball.
I don't know. Once they see me throw batting practice or hit ground balls, they'll definitely turn me away. But also, you get to rock a jersey, which is unlike any other sport.
That is fun. I was more of the baseball pants with the quarter zip. I don't
Sure.
like to wear the jersey, but I know some coaches really like it.
Absolutely. Okay, so you mentioned you did the camp thing last year. Tell us about that. Like, what camps did you work, and what was that experience like? Because that's like the way for someone trying to get in. That's a great way to meet people and get out there.
Yeah, so last year, I kind of realized after coaching high school that I really wanted to try this college thing. And I talked to Lionel, and he mentioned to me that coaching camps was a great idea. So I reached out to Marquette, and I did 2 weeks there. Then I did a week in Dayton. And so I just did the month of June because I didn't really know what it would be like. I just wanted to give it a try. But the camp experience was awesome. I met some really good friends there that I talk to on a daily basis that are in a wide kind of range of coaching positions. Some are student assistants, some are managers, some are GAs places, and it's a lot of fun. Getting to be around the kids is obviously one of the benefits of the experience. The kids are really excited to kind of be around all the Marquette coaches and players, and they kind of treat us like we're coaches at Marquette and Dayton. And so that was fun, but definitely after camp and getting to meet all the different people from all over the country. Like I have a friend who's a GA in Michigan, and then there's a friend who's a coach in California, and we all connected through the Marquette camps, and then met some people at Dayton. And one thing that was really cool about the camps was that Marquette and Dayton did a great job of involving the coaches after. So they had things like coaches clinics and that kind of stuff for the coaches. So it's just a really great experience if you're trying to meet other coaches, just be around the game, see what the whole Division I facilities and coaches staffs kind of like. So it was awesome and something I recommend for people for sure.
So our co-founder, Andy Farrell, who's on staff at Dayton, talks a big game about his summer camps. Like, he claims he's the master of summer camps. Was he really out there doing the whole thing, or was he just like one of those guys that was in the office all day and popped down every once in a while and blew his whistle?
No, he was definitely out there the whole time. He was there to meet us and greet us. He was definitely the face of the whole operation. And it's funny, I'm sure if you asked Andy, he probably wouldn't even remember me. I was at that time last year, I was kind of intimidated by all the coaching thing. I thought all these people, they're coaches wherever they don't want to meet, just some student assistant at Viterbo, but it kind of all changed for me, just realizing how invested the whole community is. And it's just kind of one of those things where I would just recommend just go out there and just be you and meet as many people as possible. That's one thing that if I would have been able to go this summer, I would have been more me. I think I was more reserved last summer, and I think Andy would probably tell you the same. But he definitely ran that thing. They had some nice facilities there, put us in a nice dorm room for sure.
Nice. Okay, so tell us about like your mindset going into year 2, but really kind of like year 1 of your first full-time assistant job there at Viterbo.
Sure. Well, one thing that I've been kind of tasked with this off season is last year we were running kind of a spread ball screen offense, and it's something that Lionel had ran for years, and he tells this story all the time. But I came in one day, and I'd been watching a lot of film and stuff like that, and I offered him some advice on how I would change it. And he said, I don't think it needs changing, but I'll let you run with it. And so I kind of tweaked our offense, and we kind of took off towards the end of the year. And I'm not taking credit for that. That was definitely all our girls and all that kind of stuff. But it worked out for us. So I'm in charge of our offense. So I coordinate all that. So my off season has just been watching a ton of film of different schools doing stuff that is similar to what we run, that's different, just kind of tweaking it. My mindset is just that I want to be kind of the most willing learner that I can be. For me, I've been trying to listen to as many clinics and talks and all that kind of stuff just to see what other coaches are doing. How can I be successful? How can I be a good leader for all of our athletes, and how can I kind of serve Viterbo in our community? So that's kind of my mindset.
Jovahn, any specific clinics or Zooms that have stood out to you this off season?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would have to say that one that I really enjoyed was I don't know, there's so many good ones, but Cody Topper from Memphis, he did probably like 4 or 5, and I watched them all. And just in terms of skill development and player development, it was something that I hadn't had a lot of knowledge in. So that's kind of one focal point that I wanted to learn. But I thought he did a really good job for sure.
Yeah, great call. He's as good as it gets on the offensive end.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now tell us about small school, big time hoops.
Sure. It was kind of something that I came up with randomly one day, and I asked my significant other about it. I was like, "Do you think this is a good idea, bad idea? What do you think?" She said, I think that could be a pretty good idea." I didn't really know anything about podcasting, but I knew that I loved listening to them. And so one thing that I noticed right away was that I listened to people like John Rothstein and all different kinds of podcasts like that. And they're always focused on Division I basketball, which is great. I love Division I basketball as much as anyone else. But I noticed that there was kind of an area lacking for the smaller schools. And so one thing that I wanted to do is kind of twofold for me, but I wanted to be able to showcase small school basketball and all the good things that people are doing and all the coaches that make it special. And then I just wanted to meet coaches. Obviously, with COVID and all this kind of stuff, for me, it was going to be my first off season as a full-time assistant coach. I was going to go out there and meet a bunch of people at the AAU circuit, at clinics, and all that kind of stuff. And so it kind of was a way for me to meet people while also allowing, finding a way to showcase small school hoops. And I had a lot of great guests and a lot of people who were really interested and showed a lot of support. So that was awesome and something I never really expected.
What's it been like being on the other end of the podcast, not listening, but hosting?
It's really weird. A lot of work goes into it, being prepared to have kind of how you want to tell a person's story. And it's just been really rewarding for me, kind of seeing all the different paths that coaches have taken. That's kind of the biggest thing that I learned during that time, but it's extremely weird. I'm still not used to it. I'm not a big talker typically, and it's forced me to kind of get out of my shell. So it's something I'm really grateful for.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so where can people listen to it? Is it on iTunes?
It's on iTunes and it's on Anchor.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a pretty cool project coming pretty soon, so stay tuned. There'll be something cool coming up.
Awesome. Sneak peek. See, you're getting good at the hosting thing. You're leaving them with the cliffhanger.
Yeah, I'm learning a little bit.
I like it. Well, Jovahn, I appreciate you being on here, man. It was great talking to you and learning a little bit more about you. Yeah, and just appreciate what you're doing, and happy that you got yourself a full-time spot, and excited to see where it leads to.
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate everything you do with Rising Coaches, and I hope that you stay well, and I look forward to connecting soon.
Thanks, Jovahn.
See ya.
Okay. We are now joined by Tanner Keane, rocking the Chicago Bears hoodie.
Yep, big win last Sunday.
Tanner, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm all right. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. How you doing?
I'm good. So are you a Chicago guy,
I am. Yep.
born and raised?
I'm actually from Northwest Indiana, but 30 minutes outside. I claim Chicago.
Close enough. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So are you sold on Mitch Trubisky, or the jury's still out?
Not after 1 week. He's got to show me more, but it's progress, so we'll take it.
You guys are 1-0, so
Yep. There we go.
hard to complain about that, right?
Yep.
So Tanner, tell us, give us your story. We know where you're from, obviously, but give us your background and how you got into coaching.
Yeah. So I'm from Munster, Indiana. Went to the local high school here. I didn't play basketball while I was there. Growing up, I was always a big kid, real chubby and chunky, and kind of always struggled getting up and down the court. Basketball, though, was always something I loved, and I always had passion, and I was drawn to the game, but I was just kind of unable to play at the high school level. Around my junior year of high school, though, I started to make some health changes, and my body started to change, and I started to get a little more confident in myself. Then I went on to college. I went to Purdue University Northwest, which is an NAI, was an NAI program. It's Division II now. When I was there, my freshman year, I was just a normal student trying to get my degree. I was playing in the intramural basketball league, and we were playing a couple of the university players. And the defense in an intramural game is probably a little lackluster at times, but I ended up scoring 40-something points. I don't remember the exact amount, but I scored a good amount, and I kind of thought at that moment, maybe I could play at this level. So the next year, my sophomore year, decided to try out. I ended up making it as a scout team player or practice player, and I spent my sophomore and junior year just as a practice player. By the end of that junior year, though, I got a little bit frustrated. I just wanted an opportunity. So that junior to senior summer, I worked extremely hard, got in some of the best shape of my life at that point. And there was a coaching change, and a new coach came in. He took a liking to me, and I got my opportunity finally. First game of the year, I came in off the bench, and I played pretty well. Second game, I was in the starting lineup, so pretty happy about that. I was in and out of the starting lineup for the next 6-7 games. Then I broke my hand, and that kind of ended that. And at that point, I kind of thought I was done playing. Needed to go back to school one more semester to get my degree. So I went back that fall. I got my degree, and it's December, and I'm kind of wondering, what am I going to do with my life? I've focused on basketball the past 6-7 years. That's all I know. And I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. Always in the back of my head, I had this crazy dream or vision of going over to Europe and playing. And obviously didn't have the college career to do that. But my mom was born in England, and I knew there was a chance I could get dual citizenship and be considered a European player, which at least gave me a better chance being considered a European player with the 2 American rules there. So I was accepted for my dual citizenship, and I put together, I guess if you want to call it, a highlight tape from my 6 or 7 games in college and sent it over to a bunch of teams in England. I heard back from a couple, and one team in particular, they were looking for a big man to come in. Their big was in and out of the lineup with a back injury, so they were just looking for a backup. So it was an opportunity to go there. So I went to Reading, England, and I played about 4 months there. I played under a great coach in Alan Keane. He was my head coach, and he's also the head coach of the Great Britain, I think he's under 20 now, national team. He was terrific. He's a great coach. He's just a great guy to learn from. But while I was there, I struggled playing for sure and kind of missed my family back home. And I just kind of figured I wasn't cut out for it. So came back, and that summer I knew I wanted to be associated with hoops still. It's just something I love. So I came back that summer and went on Hoop Dirt and saw all these coaching positions, and coaching was always something that interested me. So I applied to a bunch of them, but didn't hear back much. And it got to about late September, and I still had nothing. And I got a call from the head coach at Prairie State College, Coach Mike Mandarino. He was just looking for someone to come in and help. He was all by himself, so he needed an assistant as soon as possible. So I think I talked to him on a Thursday, and I was in there on Friday coaching. It kind of brings me to today, where I'm getting my master's degree in coaching and athletic administration, and getting ready to start year 2 here, hopefully in a couple weeks.
Tanner, what an awesome
Thank you.
story. So just from getting buckets and intramurals to joining the team, that's you don't hear about
my
that too
confidence
often.
kind of grew after that, and I kind of thought, you know what, I know they don't play the best defense, but at times they were trying, and I was still being able to score. So I kind of thought, you know what, I could play at this level.
Hey, a 40 piece is a 40 piece, no matter what level you're at. You still got to put the ball in the hole.
Yep.
That's really cool. So, and then just to have the courage to, you know, go to England and try it. Did you go out there to get your dual citizenship first and then find a team, or you found the team, you had it lined up?
So yeah, I applied for the dual citizenship here at home, and I put together, I guess, that highlight tape, and I had a video of myself working out recently. So I've sent that to them, and I actually surprisingly heard back from a lot of teams. And, you know, the team in Reading was just looking for someone to come in, you know, as soon as possible due to their injuries. So I was given an opportunity.
Nice. How tall are you, Tanner?
Like 6'6".
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so you mentioned you played for Alan Keane in Reading. Alan has been on our podcast. I think very highly of him.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things, maybe you can shed some light on it. One of the things he talked about was his player-led culture, his player-led program. And I know a lot of people say that, and they don't really like, it's just something cool to say. And, you know, it just means you're a player's coach. But he actually puts like everything into that, right?
No, yeah, he really does it. I mean, when you're there, it was something I was not used to. Over here, I was used to, you know, you mess up, the coach kind of corrects you right away. With him, it was you mess up, hopefully you catch it yourself and you're able to correct your mistake. And if not, then hopefully a teammate will be able to correct you positively, though. You know, like it was about the teammate correcting you in the right way. And then if it's the problem continues to happen, he steps in and he would just coach, and he's terrific at that.
So what other ways was it like player led? Like how is the culture set up, and how often is it like emphasized and worked on?
Every practice, you know, during practice, he would, if you make a mistake, and it continues to happen, he'll let you know, and you just got to give him a thumbs up, letting him know that you know that the problem has happened. And that was every day in practice. That was every drill, every practice. You know, he's calling out someone, and he just wants you to acknowledge that you heard him and that you understand that there's a problem, you need to fix it. And that was it.
So there's no like, you know, long tirades, or like he's telling you get over that screen, you give him the thumbs up while you're playing, and it's done. Like, is that right?
In a way, yeah. But if the problem continues to happen, he's
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It's one thing to acknowledge it. Now you got to fix it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then is the locker room broken down differently, or like water breaks, or like?
Yeah. So when we would actually he would give us a couple timeouts. We're playing up and down. He would give us timeouts to where, when we call a timeout, he's not going to be in the huddle with us. So it's just the 5 guys playing, and you talk it over yourselves, and you figure out what's going on the court. So you're really having to think for yourself, or you're really having to, you know, in a way, get your teammates going, because he's not going to say anything. He'll listen to the conversations from afar, but he's not going to give you any sort of insight on, you know, what is wrong and what's going right and what's going wrong.
And does he instruct the players on how to like think or talk during those timeouts, or do you just figure it out on your own?
Go at it with I think the word he said is always just go at it with a positive mindset. You know, don't be going in there yelling at someone that they messed up. You know, appropriately approach them.
Yeah, that's really good. Well, for anyone that hasn't listened to that podcast, definitely go back and listen to it. It's one of my favorites. It is really a unique way to run a team that was in line with what I'm like some of my beliefs. So I'm curious, like Tanner, if you had a head coaching job today, would that be your style or no?
You know, it's something I've thought about, and it is something. It kind of fits my personality in a way, because I'm not a big yeller or screamer. So I think if I could get a group of guys, you know, to where they can in a way lead themselves, and if I need to step in, I can step in. I think it would be something I would look into for sure.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, and then you mentioned you came back to the States and were looking for a job, and you finally connected with somebody at Prairie State, and a day later you were there, right?
Mhm.
Crazy how that works. How that
Yeah.
works, but
Yep.
that's sometimes what it takes. What was that? Like
Yeah.
24 hours in a week, like.
Yeah. So Prairie State's only 15 minutes from my house. So, I mean, he was just looking for someone to come in and help. And uh, it was just kind of lucky that he had no one there, and he was in dire need of someone to come in there and help him.
Yeah, and what was it like just getting thrown into the fire like that? I
Yeah.
mean, it sounds like the next day you were on the floor with them.
It's definitely there was a big learning curve there. Struggle at times because, like I said, I'm not the loudest person or the most talkative person, but I was immediately thrown into the fire, and having to coach these guys who I was barely much older than them, some of them on the team, and they're all of a sudden I show up to practice one day and they're just expected to trust me. It was definitely tough, but over the year I definitely gained their trust, and we ended up having a pretty good season.
Did it take you a while to like find your voice on the court? You mentioned being like you're reserved a little bit by nature. Yeah, how did you kind of find out like, okay, this is like I need to step up and correct this. This is the time to blow my whistle, like all that stuff.
Yeah, it took me probably about a month or so to actually finally feel comfortable around the guys. I think it just took time for me to adjust being around them, and for them to have faith in me that I actually know what I'm talking about. Because like I said, it was just randomly. It was a guy off the street one day came into practice, and all of a sudden he's here coaching. They have no idea where I'm from. They have no idea what my history was, and all of a sudden I was just there at practice. So it took a while for me to find my voice, but about a month or so into it, I finally felt comfortable.
Nice, I love it. And then you mentioned you're going into year 2.
Mm-hmm.
You're also working on your master's, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's the mindset for this year? Do you feel now that you know what you're doing, is there a different level of confidence and like excitement going into this?
Yeah, I definitely, Coach Mandarino there, he gives me a lot of responsibility if I want it. So I'm excited for this year. Hopefully we're going to have a good team, and I'm just looking forward to it, I would say. Yeah.
That's great. And then after you get your master's, kind of what's the plan then? Are they going to kick you out of the nest? Is it like a GA spot where you're going to have to find something, or chance to stay on, or what?
We'll see what happens next. Like a lot of assistants, I love the opportunity to one day be a head coach, but those opportunities are kind of few and far between. I know how hard they are to come by, but yeah, I'd love to be in the college game if possible. The level in college doesn't matter to me. This past year was my first year ever around junior college basketball, and I really loved the level. And so I'm not going to be too picky about it.
Yeah, great stuff. Okay, Tanner, what about the last 6 months here during the pandemic? What have you kind of spent your time doing?
Yeah, it's been a long layoff for us. I spent a lot of my time watching coaching clinics and on Zoom calls and stuff like that. Just trying to learn as much as I can. I was looking forward to this off season going to camps and clinics, but I guess the virtual clinics will do for this past 6 months. But that's what I've been spending my time a lot of doing, just coaching clinics and that stuff.
Any particular clinics or Zooms stand out to you?
Coach has talked to me about possibly, we ran a 1-3-1 zone at times this past year, and he's been talking about going over 2-3s or transition into 2-3 zone if we can. And Matt Klein did a great, I'm not sure where it was from, but he did a great clinic on the 2-3 zone and how they had the staggered guards at the top end. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, Matt Klein, great, another Rising Coaches member who does an unbelievable job and was just on the member spotlight, I think last week or 2 weeks ago.
I saw that. Yep.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, Tanner. Well, I appreciate you being on today and enjoy getting to learn a little bit more about you. Of course, let us know if we can ever help.
All right.
Just appreciate you being a Rising Coaches member.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.